Dear Master students, welcome to the study of this first unit. In this unit, you will study the characteristics of CLIL and CBI methods. Let's start with these contents. The competency of this unit is to develop activities and strategies for the applicability of CLIL and CBI methods in the teaching and learning of the English language. In this unit, we will begin by examining what CLIL is, offering its definition, describing its main features, covering its assets and pitfalls, and the different models of bilingual education. Let's start by reviewing what CLIL is. So, what is CLIL? Perhaps the most popular definition is on where CLIL is defined as a dual-focused education approach in which an additional language, in our case English, is used for the teaching and learning of both content and language. So both aspects are taught. Despite the different and diverse natures of CLIL models, there are some clear-cut features which make it a distinctive approach to language construction. These core traits, which differentiate from, for example, immersion education, have caused CLIL to become an increasingly acknowledged trend in foreign language teaching rather than a simple branch of other types of bilingual programs. There are several features of CLIL. To begin with, the theory of language focuses on fluency rather than on accuracy. The theory of learning of CLIL sees learning as something we do through construction rather than instruction. In line with these principles, CLIL favors learning by doing, which necessitates an active role on the part of the learner. Teachers' roles are also recalibrated. It means the CLIL teacher needs to learn to become a facilitator instead of a simple provider of knowledge. And this is in harmony with the language level targeted. We don't want our students to be native-like speakers of the language, but we simply want them, as a goal in CLIL, to reach a functional competence of the language, which allows them to communicate, to study, to work, to function abroad. The amount of exposure to the language in this sense is also lower. Students learn it at a later age. Methodologically speaking, CLIL brings innovation into the language classroom. We employ, for example, project-based learning, cooperative learning, problem-oriented learning, all of which in which students must be the center. In terms of materials, these are usually adapted or originally designed rather than authentic and new technologies, like in the usual TICs we use nowadays, are very used in this field. When all of these traits converge in a successful CLIL program, they take us to numerous advantages that can be categorized in a series of dimensions. Within the linguistic dimension, one of the benefits of CLIL is the increased input and exposure to the language. In terms of content knowledge, it has been found that CLIL learners acquire the contents just as well as their monolingual peers. As regards the learning dimension, it favors acquisition rather than formal enforced learning. And this connects directly with the cognitive dimension and favors skills like problem solving, risk taking, or interpersonal abilities, which are crucial for their future employment. On the teaching front, this educational approach is applicable to all educational approach and on all educational levels. It brings a modernization of classroom pedagogy. Socially, it affords all students, irrespective of social class, economic differences. CLIL allows all of these students and these different types of learners to learn bilingually in the same level and with the same opportunities. The merits of CLIL within the cultural dimension show that it offers more powerful opportunities for intercultural learning. There is, however, a potentially downside to CLIL. For example, teachers seem to be not well informed about what CLIL is, and of course, this may lead to misconceptions, which can demotivate teachers. For students, CLIL brings a great cognitive challenge for them because they have to learn content in a different language, and this may cause the learner to feel some frustrated sometimes. Another common concern affects the syllabus. Some experts consider that having to teach contents in English is going to reduce the amount of syllabus. Hence, we have to find the right balance as teachers. Another obstacle that affects the methodology. Sometimes teachers are not familiar with the student-centered methodologies that they have to implement in the classroom. So this is another of the problems that CLIL faces. A further shortcoming pertains to materials. It is true that many teachers still have to create or adapt their materials, which involves increased workload. And finally, the question of evaluation is also complicated. How can content and language be evaluated at the same time? Should we focus primarily on one or in the other? And to what extent should we focus on them? And what instruments should we use for this purpose? The different models of bilingual education follow Med's famous continuum. Many authors have tried to identify and define different models of bilingual education and to situate CLIL within any of them, using a variety and, on occasions, overlapping terminology where immersion, submersion, shelter, adjunct, and theme-based courses invariably come to the fore. So let's start which is the main difference between these different programs. Immersion programs are perhaps the most well-established model where a single learning group is offered content instruction in the target language for all part of the school day. Submersion programs are slightly different in that non-English speaking children are placed in a normal English class with little or no additional support for the language learning. Sheltered subject matter refers or it is carried out in the target language by a content area specialist to language to learners who have been separated from the native speakers. Adjunct language instruction involves parallel enrollment in a paired course where language teaching and content instruction are coordinated, therefore providing additional support classes for regular subject matter courses. Theme-based courses build the language curriculum around the selected topics or themes. They exploit both language and also content, but they have explicit language aims, which are typically more important than the content learning objectives. So this is about these different types of bilingual programs and the methodology for this course. Dear students, please do not forget that you need to check all the information available and post it on the platform. And as a way to reinforce knowledge, I invite you to please participate in answering these questions posted in the forum. So this brings us to the end of the unit number 1. Thank you very much for watching and see you very soon.